Pro-Israel Bill Ackman is being accused of intimidating, maybe even blackmailing Charlie Kirk just a month before his killing. Gray Zone reported on this. Max Blumenthal says billionaire Bill Ackman convened stormy Israel intervention with Charlie Kirk. A month before Charlie Kirk's killing, billionaire pro-Israel money man Bill Ackman arranged an intervention in the Hamptons, during which sources say he and others hammered Kirk for the conservative leader's growing criticism of Israeli influence in Washington. Kirk came away fretting about Israeli blackmail, sources say, as he contemplated a Catholic conversion. Here's Max Blumenthal talking about it.
Following my September 12th report, which provided background about the pressure, the mounting pressure that Charlie Kirk was under from pro-Israel forces, from Netanyahu's cutouts in the United States, I gathered more details. The piece, it hit like a sledgehammer. It really caused a lot of, I think it spoke for a lot of people, particularly within the conservative movement, which is changing among the youth on the question of Israel. And more people started coming out, and more people started talking, and people were talking to me. And these were people who had knowledge of a tumultuous, stormy meeting held in the Hamptons during the first week of August, convened, according to multiple sources, with knowledge of this meeting, intimate knowledge of this meeting, by the billionaire ultra-Zionist financier Bill Ackman, who is close to Netanyahu and his kind of network in the United States. Charlie Kirk was summoned along with an array of young, sort of vapid, very avaricious conservative influencers who seem to be sort of in Israel's back pocket to set a very pro-Israel tone for this meeting. And Charlie Kirk was, according to one source, hammered by Ackman and others for allowing Israel critics, very prominent conservative voices like Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, or the anti-Zionist Jewish comedian Dave Smith, to appear at his events. And actually, Charlie Kirk was planning to host many of these same figures again in December, and he had just added to his TPUSA major, I think it's called America Fest in December, the premier critic of Israel in Congress. I didn't say Republican critic, I just said premier critic, because that's what she is now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, which really reflected his shifting views. And Ackman, according to multiple sources, had this meeting to basically bully Charlie Kirk into submission. Charlie Kirk walked away, according to one person, feeling like there was an attempt to blackmail him. He refused any offers of funding, and also refused the offer to travel to Israel and meet with Netanyahu, which Netanyahu disclosed in the wake, the immediate wake of Netanyahu's death. He talked about this letter, but he didn't say whether Charlie Kirk refused or accepted. I've learned since that he refused.
Of course, Bill Ackman is denying all of this. But first, I want to show you, before we get to his denial, Candace Owens also talked about this, about Max Blumenthal's piece in the Gray Zone. She talked about it on her show. And this is where things get heated, because Bill Ackman is now essentially threatening to sue Candace Owens for slander or libel. But here's what Candace had to say about it.
Bibi Netanyahu, in that phone call, what took place was a couple of weeks ago before Charlie lost his life. Charlie was in the Hamptons, and he had more than one event, but he had essentially what was staged, an intervention was staged by Bill Ackman, because Charlie's rational thoughts about Israel were a no-no. This is not the route that you should be going on. And Charlie was surrounded by his friends, his quote-unquote friends. Bill Ackman was very upset, and threats were made. That is what I am told, and I will tell you that I am very happy for Bill Ackman to dispute this narrative. In fact, he was asked to dispute this narrative. Max Blumenthal went out to him today, and Bill Ackman came back and said, I have receipts I can show you. And he did not provide the receipts. This is not how it went down. I know it went down this way. I'm waiting for one of them to go on record and to say that it didn't go down this way. It was at this time that Bibi Netanyahu was called and Charlie was invited to Israel. This was an under duress situation, I would say, because I've been in these situations before. When I started asking very sensible questions about Israel, as someone who had dedicated her political life to supporting Israel, many times alongside Charlie Kirk, I was met with the very same pressure. And just like Charlie was being invited to Israel, I was invited somewhere else. And when this arrived to me, it felt like a threat. I got to tell you that. It felt like a threat, not like, hey, come here and we can educate you because you're my friend. More like, this is your last chance. That's how it felt to me. I can't speak to how it felt to Charlie. And I know that Charlie was offered a ton of money in this moment. A ton of money. Bibi would fund it, spend tons of money. And Turning Point, I guess, if it needed to go to a higher level, would have gone to an even higher level than it already was at. And I know for a fact that Charlie denied that funding. That Charlie denied, and what Bibi didn't include there, he declined to go to Israel for, I would describe this as re-education camp. We've seen it. You made an uh-oh, but we can help you. We just need you to come out to Auschwitz and take a picture. Yeah. We just need you to come to the Holocaust Museum and take a photo. We just need you to go to Israel and we can make this better. Charlie said no to Bibi. Okay. Bill Ackman, if you would like to dispute that, I would love to hear what you say happened, because our sources and what we have, it's solid. Okay. There were conversations that took place, messages that were sent at that time, and they are solid. So
Bill Ackman has issued basically a denial on this. I think, though, we all know that whenever someone is accused of being an anti-Semite, someone prominent, they usually get the invitation to Israel. Right? We watched this happen with Elon Musk, and then they have to go and do their pilgrimage, and they're shown a bunch of stuff, and who knows what's said to them in a back room. And suddenly, the next thing we know, when they come back to the United States, they're just extremely pro-Israel, and they're all ready to censor everybody and call everybody an anti-Semite. But this is what Bill Ackman had to say about the meeting in the Hamptons with Charlie Kirk. This happened in early August, I believe 4th and 5th or 5th and 6th is when they decided to have this kind of intervention or, some sort, or whatever you want to call it, intimidation of Charlie Kirk. So Bill Ackman has a really long thread on this. I'm just going to read part of it. He says, I connected with Charlie when he DM'd me in late May of this year and expressed interest in meeting me. So he's claiming that Charlie Kirk wanted to meet him and that Charlie actually reached out to him. And he's saying that this happened in May. And he then says that we were unable to figure out a way to meet, and so we just met over Zoom. So he says that on June 11th, him and Charlie Kirk met on Zoom, and Charlie explained to Bill Ackman that conservatives, in particular young conservatives, were getting tired of defending Israel and that this was very concerning to him, he says. I asked him how I could learn more. This is Bill Ackman saying, I asked how I could learn more, and he suggested that I might be useful to convene a group of young conservative influencers on a host of topics that could include Israel to get a better sense of how the conservative community was thinking about Israel and other relevant issues of concern to young people. So he's claiming Charlie Kirk convened this meeting in the Hamptons, which included Charlie, Bill Ackman, many other pro-Israel influencers and other conservative influencers who all convened to this Hamptons meeting. And Bill Ackman goes on to say that they chose the afternoon of August 4th to the afternoon of August 5th for the convening. Charlie and members of my team worked to put together an invitation list. I offered to host the sessions in Bridgehampton and cover the cost so that I could attend some of the sessions as I was working from there at that time. So Bill Ackman is admitting to he funded this entire convention in the Hamptons, and and maybe that is why Charlie was working with him, which was, hey, do you want to get together and put together a meeting for young conservatives, and we can talk about a variety of conservative issues, and we can talk about Israel too. And what is being alleged by the Gray Zone and Max Blumenthal, according to his sources, is that Charlie then was kind of blindsided at this convention. He was going there thinking maybe it was about one thing, and in reality ended up getting bombarded and essentially he felt blackmailed, and there was like an intervention. And according to Max Blumenthal's piece, Charlie was yelled at, like people were screaming at him, they were angry with him, and it just turned into like this big fiasco essentially. And Charlie walked away feeling pretty defeated and feeling like, wow, the pro-Israel forces are really kind of out to get me. Bill Ackman is saying that's not true. None of that's true. We got together August 4th and 5th. I did pay for it because, I thought, well, it'd be easy and convenient. So I paid for it. And Charlie sent out the invitation to 35 or so influencers, or he sent it out to a bunch of people, but 34 or so influencers accepted, according to Bill Ackman, with an estimated followership of about 100 million collectively. Charlie and Turning Point put together the agenda for the meeting, and the topics were the economic future of America, the cultural landscape of dating and marriage, the convergence of East and West, and Memdani, the new threat to America. So that is what Charlie went in thinking he was going to talk about. But according to Max Blumenthal, when Charlie got there, the topic turned to Israel, and Charlie ended up being yelled at and basically told that he was essentially a traitor to Israel for platforming anti-Israel voices at his Turning Point USA events. But Bill says, Charlie asked me to moderate the economic future discussion, which I did, and thereafter hosted a Q&A session with the participants. He also said that the convergence of East and West included a discussion of immigration, value systems, the U.S. approach to foreign policy, and Israel. While I had wanted to attend the convergence panel, I had a board meeting that conflicted with this session. So he's saying he did not attend that session that had the Israel discussion. Bill says that those that did attend that session said that it was similar to other sessions, with the attendees expressing varying points of view, as well as explaining the views of their followers. Some participants were critical of Israel and U.S. support for Israel, and others were supportive. So he's saying, and then with these sessions, we had some meals, lunches, dinners, and I attended some of those with Charlie and others. He says, at the end of the event, I sat with Charlie and members of my team, and we discussed the events of the convening. Charlie believed that he had identified a number of potential Turning Point ambassadors who could launch open mic events on campus, and that he would follow up with them. We agreed to keep in touch thereafter. We corresponded by text thereafter over the next few weeks on a range of topics that did not include Israel, and the next thing I knew, he was gone. In short, this was not an intervention to blackmail Charlie Kirk into adopting certain views on Israel. It was nothing of the sort, he's claiming. However, if that's the case, then, the issue is, here is Charlie Kirk on Megyn Kelly's show, which he did on August 6th. So he was at the Hamptons August 4th, August 5th. This is what Charlie had to say the very next day. Now, you tell me, does he seem like, everything's cool with the pro-Israel crowd? You tell me.
Look, I'm afraid because, again, I want civilization to win. I want the West to win. I don't want the Islamo-fascist barbarians to storm the gates of Jerusalem. I want the holy sites protected. I believe in the Holy Land. I love that Jesus walked on water there and rose from the dead and preached in the Mount of Beatitudes. Like, I feel the connection to Israel. But at the same time, simultaneously, when the hostile reaction is that now Megyn and Charlie are enemies,
right?
Boy, I'll tell you, like you're not gonna, I wouldn't say lose, but you will weaken and just basically deflate two of your strongest advocates if that continues.
So Charlie was feeling like he was being treated like an enemy. This is the very next day after the Hamptons intervention, or wasn't an intervention, according to Bill Ackman. Now, Bill Ackman, in that previous tweet, I didn't read the whole thing too because it's really long. Bill Ackman has a tendency to post essays online. Bill Ackman said, this afternoon, Candace Owens slandered me by accusing me of staging an intervention with Charlie Kirk. And he basically is saying, I'm going to come after you, Candace Owens. So Candace Owens, she issued a response to Bill Ackman's threats to her. And she said, let's clarify. 1, check your ego. I do not need you to make my platform bigger. Don't confuse your mysterious wealth with influence. You were contacted with plenty of time to respond with your receipts, and you did not, because Max had reached out to Bill Ackman and Bill Ackman didn't respond back. She says, I know feigning victimhood is kind of an Israeli brand thing, but I was clear that Charlie felt blackmailed by the offer to fund TPUSA, which he refused. No one said Bill Ackman blackmailed Charlie Kirk. Try to resist the urge to rewrite history. No, but I mean, clearly being, the thinking is that Charlie Kirk felt blackmailed, and by who? I mean, this was an event that was put together by Bill Ackman. So, I think one could deduce that maybe people, it's speculation. Of course, they're giving their opinions on that, but that's how people are interpreting what happened and how Charlie was feeling about it. 3 people in attendance characterized it as an intervention. Josh Hammer and Seth Dillon, according to attendees, were especially disappointed that Charlie expressed his frustration with Bibi Netanyahu and what would happen if he publicly criticized him. 4, nothing else in your overly worded response disputes that Charlie was pressured by you and others about his viewpoints on Israel and about Tucker Carlson or Bibi's phone call. Try to stay focused and answer the questions. 5, as a follow-up and separate question, do you know anything about the alleged $150 million Bibi offered for an anti-Tucker Carlson campaign? DMs open. Interesting. So she's asking about, and this is the first time I'm hearing about this, allegedly a $150 million Israel paid for campaign against Tucker Carlson. Well, that's kind of interesting. Okay, so that is, Candace Owens' response on that. And we're waiting to hear from Bill Ackman. I don't know if he's going to continue to say anything or if he's just going to hit her with a lawsuit, which is maybe what he would do. But, if you're going to hit Candace Owens with a lawsuit, why not? I mean, I'm not advocating for this at all, but I mean, Max Blumenthal is the one that wrote the piece and reported on this. And he did reach out to Ackman for an opinion on it or for a comment, and Bill Ackman didn't. I want to play this for you. Many of you might wonder who the heck is Bill Ackman, and Nick Fuentes actually lays out pretty well who Ackman is. So let's go ahead and watch this.
What about Bill Ackman? What about Bill Ackman and his fundraiser in August? Who the fuck is Bill Ackman? Bill Ackman is a Wall Street Jewish billionaire. Do you know that he is friends with Larry Fink, the head of BlackRock, the largest asset manager in the world, managing $10 trillion in assets? Do you know that Larry Fink is going to run the World Economic Forum in the stead of Klaus Schwab, who's retiring after a Me Too scandal? Do you know that Bill Ackman got the president of Harvard University fired because there was an anti-Israel protest on the Harvard campus? Do you know that Bill Ackman's wife is Israeli? She was born in Israel. And not only that, but she received money from none other than Jeffrey Epstein. And after October 7th, Bill Ackman shifted to the right. He put $1 million behind Trump and became very active in Republican politics, even though he's a lifelong Democrat. Bill Ackman hosted the the convention on August 4th or 5th of Turning Point Influencers. Here's the smoking gun that really brings it all home. Because, and I'm going to be really honest with you, when people said that Israel was behind Charlie Kirk's assassination, I said, don't be ridiculous. Charlie Kirk, and rest in peace, God bless his soul, Charlie Kirk, we all know, was supported by pro-Israel Jewish patrons. Until the day that he died, he never recanted his support for Israel. Publicly and openly, he defended the administration's cover-up of the Epstein files. He defended the administration's bombing of Iran. In the same interview with Megyn Kelly, he said, "You're never going to lose me. I will always support Israel." Be that as it may, after Netanyahu offered to give him all this money, and he refused, Bill Ackman hosted an event at his home where Israeli mouthpieces like Seth Dillon, a Jew, and Josh Hammer, a Jew Israeli mouthpiece working for Ben Shapiro in a previous job listing. Charlie Kirk refused to listen. He was offered a trip to Israel. He refused. When the FBI could not locate the alleged gunman on Wednesday, Do you know who stepped up and offered a $1 million reward for information leading to the arrest of Charlie Kirk's assassin? Bill Ackman. And just who do you think that $1 million will be paid out to? It looks like it will be paid out to the alleged killer's father.
Yeah.
Tyler Robinson was allegedly turned into law enforcement by his father.
Okay, so that is who Bill Ackman is. And let's talk about this now, the $1 million that is potentially going to be going to Tyler Robinson's father. So Bill Ackman offered a $1 million reward for whoever would turn in the shooter. And since Tyler's father turned him in, Bill Ackman is set to give $1 million to Tyler Robinson's dad. That is true. Bill Ackman has addressed this. He said a number of people have reached out and are posted expressing concern that Tyler Robinson's father may collect a $1.2 million reward for turning in his son, which inspires a few thoughts. First, in order for rewards to be effective in finding criminals, the rewards need to be paid, even if the recipient is a crook or worse. That said, in this case, if Tyler's father is found to have been involved or otherwise acted negligently in contributing to Charlie's death, civil litigation or criminal prosecution will reverse any unjust compensation. I have also seen reports which suggest that Tyler's family intends to waive its right to any reward. So yes, we will pay the reward if it is earned to whomever the FBI indicates provided the information that led to Tyler's arrest. I always keep my word. So I think that's fair. Okay, I think it's fair enough that, yeah, it doesn't matter. You know, Bill Ackman's right. He offered a reward. It doesn't matter who comes forward with the information. If you offer the reward, you have to give it to them, and it doesn't matter who it is. Even if the person's a total criminal or whatever, then, you know, if rewards are going to be effective, you just have to pay them. So he's right, and he's saying that, yeah, you know, if the FBI says Tyler's dad is the one that turned him in, then, yeah, we're going to have to pay the reward to the dad. However, he's saying that Tyler's family is not going to accept the reward, which I would think that would be the case, that they would just say no to it. But the point that people are bringing up about this, so people aren't claiming that, wow, this must be a really greedy father to turn his own kid for over $1 million. Of course, there are people thinking that. But the other line of thinking with this is if Bill Ackman is paying $1 million to the dad, it's almost like silencing. Like if there was, you know, it could be construed that way. Like it's a bit suspicious because many people believe that even if Tyler was involved, he was essentially roped in. We've seen this all the time with plots that governments put, CIA put together these plots. And what do? They find some unsuspecting kind of poor innocent person that they sort of rope into extremism, right? They take somebody that's vulnerable, that they could lead and guide with some mind bending into that direction. And they set them up and they spend a bit of time grooming that person into extremism. And then they provide all the weapons, they provide all the details, they provide everything. I mean, it's a total setup. And this person otherwise wouldn't be going down that path if it weren't for the government essentially grooming them into that position, right? So we've seen this time and time again. And so the thinking is that if that's what's happened here, and if it comes out, or, to prevent it from coming out, basically, Bill Ackman would pay off Tyler's dad and essentially be like, okay, nothing more to see here, right? Your son was a lone shooter. He did this by himself, and there's no conspiracy. Don't look any further. Don't talk about who else was involved. Don't talk about where your son maybe got these ideas. Don't talk about any of that. Here's your hush money. So that's why people are pointing at this $1.2 million reward that Bill Ackman might be paying off to the dad, and they're saying, hey, $1.2 million is a lot of money, and it could be used as hush money. Now, of course, the family has to go along with that. It doesn't sound like they're going to. So, but it's just adding, I think, is what people are saying, is this adding to the suspicion that Bill Ackman, interestingly, was the one who put together this conference in August that led to Charlie Kirk going on Megyn Kelly's show and in other instances talking about these pro-Israel forces that he was feeling he was feeling betrayed by them. He was feeling pressured. He was feeling like, wow, you're calling me the enemy, treating me like the enemy. He was feeling very pressured and intimidated by these pro-Israel forces. And it just so happened the day before he talks to Megyn Kelly about that, he's at Bill Ackman's. And it just so happens Bill Ackman is now offering a $1.2 million reward for whoever turns in the shooter. so that, everybody stops looking at other directions or whatever. So it's just the suspicion is layering on. Bill Ackman's feeling the heat clearly because he's coming out defending himself. And as Candace Owens pointed out, and Max Blumenthal pointed out in his piece, as of right now, Bill Ackman has not produced any receipts that prove otherwise. Thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iverson Show, which you can catch Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. It is free for you to watch. Again, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, KimIversonShow.com. See you there.